The following is Idaho State Police Report number 117 dated December 8, 2022, regarding a babysitting job that one of the victims had had. First, the officers spoke to another student who had also been involved in the babysitting. She explained that she had met the coach while working in the recruiting department for the University of Idaho. The coach was redacted, and also involved in the recruiting department. She told me that she met him one day in the hallway when he approached her about being a babysitter. She agreed to babysit for the family and ultimately met his wife. She explained she was the primary babysitter and coordinated with, redacted, in scheduling other girls to babysit. She created spreadsheets and time slots for the other girls to babysit. She was the main contact for each girl when they babysat. She went on to explain that KG babysat for the coach during the summer of 2022. She was unsure how many times she babysat but knew it was many. The officer asked if that was the only way she knew the victims. She said she was very close with another of the victims, initial X. They were in the same sorority and spent a lot of time together. She knew what her major was, knew her hobbies, and was aware of her boyfriend. She was not aware of anyone who would want to hurt the victims. The officer asked her for contact info for the coach, and she provided the phone numbers. She states she lived at another home on, possibly an address near the King Road house, in Moscow, Idaho, and told a story of an incident when a male came up the stairs to her apartment at approximately 1:30 a.m. She was unsure if it was related to the crime but wanted to report it. She didn't have any other information regarding the crime. The following is ISP Document 200, dated December 9, 2022. It reads as follows. ISP detectives interview the coach and coach's wife regarding their connection to victim initials KG through babysitting services. After conducting an interview with a female student named Redacted, detectives had learned that KG had been a babysitter for a family in the Moscow, Idaho area during the summer of 2022. After the interview with the student, the detective had obtained cell phone numbers and requested the cast agents to check the time frame for which they had cell phone data at the time. The data from a redacted source appeared to place presumably the wife's phone at their residence on the night of the crime. However, when the detective checked the coach's phone data, his location was not within the data collected. The officer states this can occur if the phone is turned off. Based on the information from the student and the lack of data for the coach's phone, they decided to interview the couple. On December 9, 2022, they interviewed Mrs. Redacted at her place of employment. She works for Redacted and had not sent in any tips regarding KG's employment with her as a babysitter. The detective asked her if KG had been babysitting for her or any other families. She confirmed KG did babysit for her and may have babysat for another family, but wasn't sure. She said her husband had introduced her to the student who coordinated childcare for the families, and stated there were approximately 5 sorority sisters who would provide childcare for the families. She stated the only way she paid the girls was via the Venmo app on her phone. She stated KG had provided childcare for them for a few weeks during the spring semester of 2022, that the last time KG had babysat for them was on her 21st birthday, and that KG had babysat for them about 5 or 6 times total. She said they paid each girl $15 an hour. She said that KG was not a, quote, full-time employee, unquote, and that most of the work occurred during the week. The detective asked what a normal routine for her family was, when there was a football game at home, because redacted. She explained that she and the family usually attend the home games, and for the game on November 12, 2022, they had relatives visiting for the game. She stated she attended the game and then went home. She said she did not see any of the victims at the game. She said she and her family except for her husband were at home when they found out about the crime that occurred near the university. She said her husband was at his office when the Kibbe Dome was put into a lockdown situation. She described KG as bubbly and a great person. She said the only time she ever saw her not happy was after her 21st birthday. She said KG arrived at her house to watch the children, apparently hungover, and she helped KG to feel better. I asked her if there were any other apps other than a messaging app that they used to communicate or schedule babysitting, and she said there wasn't. She said the girls were only paid through Venmo. She said she never had any conversations with KG, outside of babysitting, except for that time on KG's 21st birthday. She said KG quit being a babysitter for her, and she learned KG had accepted a job as an intern for some sort of IT company. She said that for the new job, KG was going to work remotely for the IT company, and offered to continue watching the kids during the summer. She explained that she learned the internship was a 40-hour-a-week internship that paid $25 an hour. She said the last time she had contact with KG was in July of 2022. The officer asked if there was ever an inappropriate relationship between herself and KG, or between her husband and KG, or any inappropriate relationships with any of the other babysitters. She said she was not aware of any inappropriate relationships. She said her husband had little to no interaction with the babysitters. The only one who ever attended dinner with the redacted was redacted name. Detectives contacted and met with the coach in the Kibbe Dome on the University of Idaho campus. He said he was not nervous and not afraid to speak with detectives. He explained he was a redacted for the redacted. He said he met redacted while working and asked if she would be willing to babysit. She agreed, and that is how he came to know KG. He even explained that after asking redacted about babysitting, he didn't even save her phone number in his phone for quote obvious reasons unquote. He appeared very conscious of how it may look if he was contacting female students. He stated he was not involved very much with the babysitters and did not handle any of the logistics. Outside of redacted, he had little to no contact with the other babysitters and said he had met KG maybe 2 times. He said any interactions he had with the sitters was mostly in passing. He confirmed redacted statements of how they knew KG and how the babysitting operation was performed. He explained that after games, he would meet with redacted at a location off campus. He said that on the day of the incident, he was notified of the crime when he was already in the Kibbe Dome game planning for the next week. We asked if he had seen any of the victims after the football game the night before they were found. He said he had not seen any of the victims after the game. Detectives asked what he did after the game. He said he went to the Best Western, as is custom after games, with other redacted, then went home. The detective asked what his contact was like with the redacted. He said his phone was always on and that redacted could reach out to him if need be, but that was not the standard. The detective asked if his phone was normally on, 24 hours a day 7 days a week. He said it was. Detectives asked if he would be willing to provide a DNA sample. They explained that it would be used for exclusionary purposes and would not be placed into the national database. He ultimately agreed, and detectives obtained a sample from him. That sample was later given to the Moscow Police Department and processed according to their policy and procedures. The detective asked if he had any inappropriate relationships with any of the victims or students at the university, and he denied any. He said the only interaction he had with KG outside of babysitting was when she arrived at the house to watch the kids and she appeared hungover. He said his wife took care of her. End of interview.